Hey everyone, my name is Max Gander. I am a product manager for SAP Analytics Cloud for Planning, and I'm pretty psyched to be here at TechEd 2023 live from the studio in Heidelberg. It's 8:30 here in Germany, so prime time, one could say, at least for German television viewers out there. But anyways, welcome to everyone all over the world. So I'm a product manager for SAP Analytics Cloud for Planning. So it's not a big surprise probably that I will talk about how SAP Analytics Cloud can help you in your enterprise. To be more specific, how it can accelerate xP&A deployments by using SAP Analytics Cloud for planning. And xP&A stands for Extended Planning and Analysis. And I will explain what it is now, of course. And I always use this picture. And this picture is actually, you probably have seen it a million times before, but it's super accurate also to explain the concept of extended planning and analysis. What you see here is SAP's overall vision to enable every enterprise to become an intelligent, sustainable enterprise. And what's super important there is the AI-powered end-to-end business processes. So we have many cloud applications in the SAP portfolio, and to have end-to-end business processes, they need to be interconnected with each other. I mean, that's clear. And this translates very well and nicely into the world of planning, actually. Because every business process that you have in your company, that you also want to have a plan behind. Take the example of human capital management, so HR. You want to plan how many new hires you will have next year, because that's important to staff your talent acquisition organization. But it's also important for other organizations within your company. For instance, spend management. So if you know you're going to hire 10,000 people next year, then you'll probably need to buy 10,000 laptops. And that gives you also a different kind of position in your negotiations with your supplier than if you knew you only hire 500 people, right? So, and this is a very nice example how also planning translates into this world of end-to-end business processes across silos, and that is what extended planning and analysis is all about for me. And the business technology platform, of course, is the layer that fuels everything there. And with SAP Analytics Cloud, it's also our home, the business technology platform, where we are in the data and analytics part of this organization. Yeah? And it's our responsibility to deliver business intelligence, augmented analytics, and enterprise planning to our customers as part of the SAP Analytics Cloud offering. And we do that by offering different front ends as well. So we have stories, which are dashboards, where customers can build beautiful reporting and visualizations, but also have very customized planning applications built there. It offers both low-code and no-code options. And we have a data analyzer, which is more for the drag and drop and pivot style ad hoc analysis. Just like our Microsoft Office integration, where we have an Excel add-in, where you can have pixel-perfect, cell-based reporting, of course, super flexible as well. And then last but not least, we have Ask here on the slide. And this is also why this is still labeled as a preview, but it's just around the corner. Our new Just Ask functionality is the home of the AI offering that we will embed into SAP Analytics Cloud going forward. We're starting with Just Ask, which is a natural language query processing engine, where you can ask the system, what's my revenue in country ABC, and it will come back with an adequate visualization and, of course, the right answer to your question. But this is just the beginning. We have a statement of direction out there now to embed AI into each and every relevant business process covered by SAP Analytics Cloud by the end of 2024. So now let's go deeper into planning. And again, here on the right-hand side, we have the business processes that I talked about earlier. Again, we have HR, we have sales and cost of goods sold planning, strategy, finance planning, marketing planning, etc. And super important, we also have the cloud LOB applications, which I mentioned earlier as well. And we have another example of an xP&A process here. So we have a strategic planning. From there, we put input into the financial planning process, and this gives input to the detailed expense planning process. From there, we can go into investment planning, we can go into travel planning maybe even, or into all the other areas of the company. And what's super important, now looking at the cloud applications around our planning processes, is that we can sync back the results into these transactional systems as well. Why? Again, let's go back to the HR planning use case, because it's a super nice and simple, tangible example. When you plan a new hire in your HR planning, you also want to sync that back into SuccessFactors, because this is where you actually kickstart the operational hiring process at the end of the day. Yeah? And another direction for your HR data is, of course, finance, because people that you hire will make money as well. So we cover all these different planning processes. We integrate data into all the different Cloud LOB applications. Of course, to fuel the planning process, we also get data out of it into SAP Analytics Cloud. And to run the planning process, we now look at the left-hand side of the picture, which shows us all the different steps that you have to go through in order to come up with a successful planning process implementation in SAP Analytics Cloud. And yeah, the tool offers all the different steps that you need to take there. So first of all, you have to model your business questions. Yeah, so you have your data, you put into a planning model that you can then also use to get your first insights into what has happened in the past. That's the BI capabilities of SAP Analytics Cloud. So what has happened, but then you can extrapolate your trends. Yeah? And with our predictive analytics capabilities, you can see what could happen in the future. With time series forecastings to give end users planning propositions and also to determine driver and outliers. And then the human being comes in, right? And after seeing what has happened and what could happen, you can now really plan what should happen. For that, we have powerful planning features. We're going to see some of them in a demo later on as well. So front-end based, back-end based, yeah. So advanced formulas to script complex planning logic, allocation steps, copy operations, and whatever you could imagine here. We can also integrate with external engines here. Yeah? And once we're done planning, and also during the planning, we can review the data. We can also monitor the process. We can share stories, share planning versions that were private, that we do not want to publish yet. We can also run discussions inside the tool, and we can enter comments on distinct data points as well. So now the topic of the session is not just talking about xP&A, it's also about how SAP Analytics Cloud can actually accelerate your xP&A deployment. And this is where business content comes in and plays a super important role. So our goal is to have business content for each and every planning process that you see on this picture. And a super nice example is our HR planning, where we have a business content that provides you with a nice overview, first and foremost, yeah, on the business content package, which is available in our content network free of charge for every customer. Yeah, so it comes with planning layouts and also with reporting stories to track the progress of your planning process and see how you are doing, plan versus actual against your diversity targets, and then all these things. Now let's look in a bit more detail what this content package offers. So every content package that we have has a central configuration and preparation section for like power users or admins. And then in the case of operational workforce planning, you can do aggregated headcount planning of both internal and external workforce. And you can do detailed planning of your internal workforce for your existing employees. Yeah, you can change, I don't know, their salary level. Yeah, you can also plan vacancies, new hires. And for both aggregated and detailed planning, we always calculate the cost impact of the changes you made to your HR plan. And then we are syncing that. We are integrating with our business content package, which we also have free of charge available for financial planning. And you see workforce planning expenses, they go into the cost center expenses, which are part of the operating expense planning. Apart from that, the financial planning content packages we have, they also offer product cost planning, sales and profitability planning, CapEx planning, so investments, and financial statements, which are balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow. So super comprehensive. Yeah? The workforce planning content, the financial planning content, and also our sales planning content, where you can start from an overall target setting and break that down to individual sales teams. And now we want to see some of that in action. So we have a pretty new business content, which is our commercial planning. And for that, I'm going to go right into the system. So a bit of whisk taking here. So the first whisk is to move over to the browser. Okay, we did that successfully. And again, yeah, you see, we start with a nice overview package. Commercial planning consists of portfolio planning, sales planning, and marketing planning. Let's first look in portfolio planning. The first thing I want to show you is some reporting. I said every content package comes with reporting and planning solutions. Here we have a list price analysis where we see the most important KPIs like average list price. But what I find nicest about it is that you also can review your data quality, like which product lines maybe have some missing prices maintained. Yeah, so that is beside the overall KPI overviews that you know from each and every dashboard. But now let's go into planning a bit. Yeah. And for that, I'm going to global sales budget. I want to show you 3 planning layouts, and you will see the 3 of them offer pretty different kinds of planning actually. So here, pretty standard. We have a planning table with a sales organization, and by product, we can drill down, of course, into the hierarchy. And I just want to show you how we do data entry in SAC. So you can do that on aggregated level, plus 5% maybe. And our disaggregation engine in the background, based on HANA, will disaggregate the values to all the lower levels, yeah, of the hierarchy. What you can also do is you can log a certain value, log cell, say I want to increase the overall budget by 10%, but I want the mountain bikes to stay stable for whatever reason. Let's do that. And the system is disaggregating accordingly. Yeah. We have a lot of more front-end functionality where I don't have time to show it, but you see this is the trick, and you see it's quite performant as well, and it's super easy to handle. Now let's look into marketing planning. And here I first of all want to talk about marketing campaign planning. So let's go there. I don't want to publish my changes right now. And here, the kind of planning that we're doing is actually sort of campaign planning. Yeah, we're planning marketing campaigns, but we're changing and creating master data here. And you can also do that quite nicely. So I have a marketing campaign here already existing for Northeast Racing. And I can select an action here. Like edit the campaign. So my Northeast Racing campaign. And here, for instance, I can change the campaign status to completed, cancelled, planned, whatever. And then I can save these changes. So very different style of planning, right? And you see that with the same kind of front end, so SAP Analytics Cloud stories, we can cater for all these different requirements. And now let's do one last thing, and that is some marketing demand planning. And here we actually have a driver-based approach. So I can display all the drivers that I have here. Yeah. So I have a consumer trend and a market share for all of my product lines. And now I can start playing around with these drivers, like the market share or the consumer trend. So let's, for instance, say our cruise bikes will, for some reason, gain a market share up to 3%. The consumer trend will increase as well. But on another end, we may lose some market share, and in addition see some slowing demand, for example for racing bikes, because people now all want gravel bikes. I don't know why. Okay, and now what we can do is apply these drivers. So now one of our back-end calculation logics is applied and running, so-called data action. If you're an SAP Analytics Cloud for Planning expert, you will know this concept quite well. And here we go. So a lot of changes made. So you see that from the consumer trend side, data has changed, market share has also changed, so nicely split. So where is our result actually coming from? Okay, so that was the demo that I wanted to show with you, and with that also that's the content I prepared for you, and I hope that we now also have some questions, so let's go into the Q&A.
Live Q&A.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions here. The first one is from Carrie. Charles, thank you so much for your question. Where can we find the business content planning packages? So when you have SAP Analytics Cloud, you will find, actually I can show it here probably. Oh, it's also quite easy to find by description. So you just go to the menu shell on the left-hand side, you will find our business content network. Yeah, and there we have the business content packages, and there you can easily find all these packages from SAP, from partners as well. Next question is from Scott. Thanks for your question, Scott. Can you explain what role SAP DataSphere will play in xP&A? And that's a very good one. So DataSphere is the business data fabric, right, for SAP. And in that role, it consolidates data from different SAP applications, but also from non-SAP. So all your steering relevant data will be in DataSphere. Of course, it makes all the sense in the world, if you ask me, to have your planning data in DataSphere as well. As of now, we integrate with DataSphere, but it's a replication-based approach, and we are planning to enhance that a lot by offering live planning. So we are actually already working on it as we speak to push our planning models down into DataSphere, so that plan data only lives in DataSphere. You model in SAP Analytics Cloud, yeah, you know the planning model there, but you save the model in DataSphere. So every time somebody enters data like I did and publishes the data, it's directly available in DataSphere for plan versus actual reporting. And on the other hand, yeah, we're of course also looking to nicely integrate data from DataSphere into the planning model, yeah, at some point in the future, in the next 2 years, to also get live access to the data which you already have in DataSphere. And with that, it plays a super important role in xP&A, because it's the data management and integration layer that we very nicely integrate with our SAP Analytics Cloud for planning models. Yeah, so we're planning first release for this seamless planning, live planning integration with DataSphere already next year in 2024. Yeah, of course, we have to take this first step first. So it's not going to be the end-to-end solution yet, but we are actually planning to deliver further enhancements then every 3 months or so with every QRC release. I hope that answers the question, Scott. Good, then there's a question from Derek. Thank you for your question, Derek. How do you imagine generative AI will change the way we plan in the future? So that's also a super nice question. And of course, I mean, if you watch the keynote today, if you watch the other sessions today, you will have seen how important generative AI is to us as SAP. And I mean, we all know it's out there now, and we know the benefit that it can bring. In SAP Analytics Cloud, we overall have a task force looking into this topic. Yeah? And as I said earlier, we have a statement of direction published, which says that by the end of 2024, we want to have AI embedded into every relevant workflow in SAP Analytics Cloud. And obviously, planning and also modeling are some of these relevant workflows. And we have a couple of good or pretty good use cases in the pipeline, if you ask me. So first one is what-if simulation. Yeah, I can open a chat-like interface, and I can ask the system to create a scenario for me, simulation scenario, in which energy prices drop and my market share grows. And then generative AI could create a scenario for me, calculate everything, and give me a nice visual representation with a comparison against my baseline version of planning that I could then use. So we're really, I think, democratizing planning, yeah, by that. Because with SAP Analytics Cloud, we have all these BI users and decision makers in the product, and we can enable them to do simulations. Yeah? And that's a big USP, if you ask me, of SAP Analytics Cloud, having this combined offering of BI, augmented analytics, and planning. And I think AI can, in this use case, make it way more accessible and better. Another use case which I like, especially looking at these large language models, and it's super planning specific, but it's been a problem in planning forever. Your end users, they enter comments. They enter comment on the lowest level of your hierarchy, so on a country level, for instance. But at the end of the day, you want to provide your CFO or your board with a consolidated overview. And you don't want to sit there in group reporting, consolidating 500 comments. It's just not humanly possible, I guess. Yeah. So we want to use the power of AI in order to come up with automated summary and consolidation of comments. I think for planning, that is a super relevant use case. Yeah? And then there's further stuff that we're currently evaluating, like identifying bottlenecks in our planning processes that we run with the SAP Analytics Cloud calendar. So I think there is actually a lot of things that can really be enhanced and benefit from generative AI. Okay, another question from SP. SAC Excel add-in. Now the question is gone. I think there was a question about the Excel add-in, our SAP Analytics Cloud for Excel add-in. So let me just talk about that for a second. And yeah, we have the Excel add-in, I think, since a couple of years, and it's making huge steps forwards. And I do believe that this Excel add-in can be a full-blown planning front-end, yeah, as an alternative to the stories that we have seen in my demo, actually. Yeah, I think we're making very good steps forward here. And yeah, there are these use cases, there are these audiences that want to use Excel also going forward, like in FP&A teams, controlling teams. So I think we have a good offering there as well. Now, another question from SP, and that is, can we use live model and planning model combined? So we have planning in SAP Analytics Cloud, depending on the exact scenario where your plan data or where your live data comes from. You may also be able to use browser-based planning in your story, but that's something you should review in the documentation whether this applies to your distinct technical scenario or not. And when we then think further into DataSphere, whenever I hear live planning, I actually think of DataSphere in the future. Yeah? And there the strategy is that there's a planning model in SAP Analytics Cloud. We also have the analytic model in DataSphere, which you may know, but we have to integrate very well. Yeah? So as I said, you have your actual data, your master data in DataSphere, and we want to be able to directly consume this data without creating proxy models, for instance, without replication. So this is the strategy that we're going for in that regard. Okay, so I think there are no further questions. So we are slowly coming to an end. Thank you so much for your interest in xP&A and SAP Analytics Cloud. I want to thank my Q&A experts that helped me navigating the questions that have been submitted. I also want to give a big shout out to the business content team in our organization, which has built these beautiful screens that we have seen in the live demo. So Simon, Rudi, Dominic, Mike, I think everybody watching the session will agree with me that those are beautiful front ends that you guys have built there. And those are the ones, the business content packages that do help to accelerate xP&A using SAP Analytics Cloud. So with that, thanks so much everyone, and enjoy TechEd, and maybe speak to you soon or next year at the latest. Bye bye.